Tyler Hoover on his way to SEMA.
Yes.
Tyler is in his latest acquisition. Tyler, tell us about this new ride you got
Well,
here.
I bought the cheapest 737 in the USA.
Really?
Yeah, it was a
Tell
heck
us
of a
about
deal.
the features. What all have you got in here?
I have no idea. Is this the ejector seat? No, this button?
Don't push that one. No. Okay. All right. Tyler?
Obviously, I didn't buy the cheapest 737. The pilot just let me into the cockpit because he wanted to film me doing that bit. I'm not sure if it was against any anti-terrorist laws, but I did it anyway. Also, I didn't buy this. This is a brand new Tesla Model 3 dual motor performance model, and it was actually a terrible idea to rent this car to go to SEMA. And it's not because it's a bad car. It's actually really impressive. It surprised me in a lot of ways, but also it kind of depressed me at the same time. I actually rented this Tesla Model 3 using an app called Turo that allows strangers to rent cars to other strangers. And in the case of this car, they actually had to let me borrow their phone as well. This thing has no key, just a phone with an app that unlocks and lets you drive the car. And last night, it wouldn't unlock for me because I needed to unlock the phone that they gave me, which it's not doing now. It's very confusing, but the future is now. Being a heavily optioned dual motor performance model, this thing is far from being the cheap Tesla that everybody wanted, the $35,000 Tesla. No, not this thing. It's $71,000 because it has everything. The fancy sunroof, but on the surface, it really doesn't impress all that much. Especially when you think about it, you could buy a nicely equipped Mercedes E-Class or BMW 5 Series for the same money. And on the surface, this thing isn't really that good. It's probably louder road noise-wise than my 2005 Toyota Prius. It's definitely not as smooth, and the seats really aren't as comfortable as my Prius as well. But none of that really matters at all. Welcome to the future. Bings and bongs and bongs. Whoa! Navigate to Westgate Hotel. Hey, it worked. It's so nice to find a car that speaks redneck. Most of them don't understand me. Now, like the Model S, this Tesla Model 3 is showing us what cars will be like 5 to 10 years into the future. And the most impressive part, as I pull out into the traffic here, is the acceleration. God. It's almost painful how hard this thing accelerates. It's instant, that throttle. That's one of the characteristics of electric cars. It's that 3.5 second 0 to 60, which a little more than a decade ago, a Ferrari Enzo could barely do that. And now, and the crazy thing is, this Tesla can do this all day long, or at least as long as the battery lasts. It's ridiculous. God dang. I'm making myself a little sick here. And the weird thing is, I can actually do this in the turns as well. I can just floor it. The traction control will totally save me. I just keep my foot to the floor, and it goes at these insane velocities. Just insane, but just fine. So the thing is ridiculously easy to drive at speed. Really easy. But it's also easy to drive just normal. It's thoughtless, really, because you just hit this button twice, put it in drive twice, and now the car pretty much drives itself. It wants you to keep a pinky on the steering wheel, which I will. But I'm coming up on a stoplight right now. There's a taxi in front of me, and we're stopping. Coming to a complete stop. I didn't have to do anything other than keep my pinky on the wheel so it knows that I'm still there, not asleep. Now, this Tesla's proximity detection system gives you a readout of the cars around you, and it gives them the form of soulless gray blobs. And it'll avoid these cars for you whether you're in Super Cruise or not, which is pretty cool. And remember me mentioning that Tesla is always thinking to the future? I think they're kind of thinking to the future with this as well, with these blobs representing cars, and it's kind of depressing to think about as I get close to SEMA. Oh, I gotta keep my pinky on the wheel. Yes. Oh, it's lurching forward. It's steering. I'm not doing this. That's not my pinky. Boy, it is wild here. Trying to find a quiet place to film is pretty much impossible, but there's a lot of incredible cars. But it is kind of depressing because 20 years from now, every car is going to accelerate to 60 in 3 seconds. They're going to be faster than a Bugatti Veyron, and we're not going to care because we all have the same cars. We're not going to want to modify them either. There's no reason to with an electric car. There's no intake or exhaust to change or add a supercharger or a turbo. That just doesn't exist. I guess you could put wheels on it or a wrap or whatever, but then what's the point? It's kind of like doing the same thing to a Mustang V6. Makes no sense. So if the future really is like the Tesla Model 3, then SEMA in 20 years will be a bunch of software engineers and battery seminars. Really exciting, but I'm sure there's going to be a few diehard people such as myself that are going to be holding the keys to their gassers, their gasoline-powered cars until they are in the grave. But I also wouldn't mind having that Model 3. It was a nice car, so I guess I'm as confused as ever. Thank you for watching.